Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm Jim Cockrum, and we have a guest coming on in just a few minutes. So I've got a couple announcements, then we'll jump into an interview with someone who happens to be the seventh most successful seller on Amazon in seller history. I'm not sure how to couch this exactly. There's only 6 sellers who have more transactions on Amazon than this guy. He works at a company, World of Books. And the product, as you might have guessed, is books. So they've sold a lot of books, millions of books. He's been doing books since he was in college over 20 years ago, and he's never left that arena. He really knows his stuff. Just to jump to the good part today, this isn't just another interview with someone who's built a beautiful business and is doing really well. The question I really zeroed in on with today's guest, Bill, is this still viable? Is selling used books online on Amazon or in other fashion, is that still a viable business model? I was under the impression as of a few years ago, because of Amazon storage fees, that books had kind of lost a little bit of their glamour as an opportunity. And there's a lot of people doing books as well. So I wanted to present these ideas to Bill. We met in passing at Amazon Accelerate. We were both there a few months ago. He was walking past me and said, "Hey, I think I know you." So he recognized me from somewhere, maybe listened to the show at some point, something like that, irrelevant. But we connected, had a short conversation for a couple minutes, and I said, "I've got to get you on our podcast." This is by far the most experienced bookseller I've ever run into. Now, good news, if you're a proven Amazon course student, that means you are paying $39 a month to be a part of our learning library. ProvenAmazonCourse.com is where you can go to get details. There is a module inside of that library that talks about a strategy that Bill introduces us today to. So it has to do with getting books and then not necessarily selling them to Amazon or on eBay, but selling them to Bill himself, World of Books. It's not a complicated model by any means, but we've got a mini course that teaches you all the tools you're going to need, how this strategy works, how to prepare your shipments, what type of books to look for, that sort of thing. Now, it's not comprehensive in everything you'll ever need to know to build a multiple $1-million book empire, but we've got several people in our community who have got several extra $100 or several thousand per month coming in because they understand books. Who better to talk about all this than Bill Martlink? Now, a couple things of good news for you. I already mentioned one. There's a module inside the Proven Amazon course. It's called Safe Book Profits. You can read up on that course by going to ProvenAmazonCourse.com/SafeBookProfits. But it's also included in the Proven Amazon course as well, like I said, for free. So you don't have to buy it separately if you don't want to. Bill is going to be at our conference in May. That's some other good news. So the Proven Conference, the website is theprovenconference.com. I just had a conversation with Bill right before we hit record. We talked about it a little bit on the episode today as well. He's going to come to the event. He's going to teach us how to do the book selling model at the event. That's going to be one of the breakout sessions that we've got slated. Come meet our guest. If you like him, come meet him in person. May of 2025, the last 3 days. That's the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st of May in Orlando, Florida. Come join hundreds of listeners to this show and dozens of breakout sessions. One of them is going to be hanging out with our guest, Bill Martlink, talking about books. Now, here's what I learned today that I didn't know about books. One, it's still very viable. It's a great add-on income stream. Now, it is a lot of work. You're going to have to ship this stuff yourself. You can't sell books that you find in stores and other places as new on Amazon. You got to sell them used, okay? Unless you're buying straight from the publisher and you got an invoice, you got to sell them used. And they tend to move a little slower than other inventory. You got to ship the orders when those orders happen. It's kind of like eBay, which, by the way, I mentioned Bill's the biggest bookseller on eBay. Not only the 7th biggest seller on Amazon, but the biggest seller on eBay. Their company has sold a lot of product. This is going to be really good stuff. But as you're thinking about books, a couple things to know that I've already listed out. Got to sell them as used. If you're selling them on Amazon, you can sell them direct to World of Books if you'd like. We talk about that again in that little mini course I told you about, the Safe Book Profits module inside of Proven Amazon course. You've got to store them yourself. You got to keep them on a shelf in your house or somewhere safe and dry so that when they do sell, you can ship them, because the storage fees at Amazon are too prohibitive for you to be a successful bookseller and have Amazon hold all your storage for you. That used to be the way that a lot of people did it. It's not possible anymore. You're going to have to ship the books as they sell, which means you're going to have a good storage system, good retrieval system, good way to get them out the door. But for some people, this is going to be another beautiful add-on business stream. All right, that's enough of an introduction for now. I had a great time hanging out with Bill and recording this introduction after the fact, but he fills us in a little bit on his journey. Then he dives right into why he thinks books is still viable. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation, and I think we're going to create another nice little income stream for a lot of our community. If you enjoy our show, maybe if this is one of the first ones you've ever heard today and you enjoy this, I've got good news for you. We've got hundreds of episodes where we've interviewed successful entrepreneurs. Most of them are people who have taken our training, proven Amazon course training, and built a beautiful business. But sometimes we bring in outside experts as well that can help encourage, inspire, motivate us to do great things. Enjoy this conversation with Bill Martlink from World of Books. So Bill, thanks for coming on the show today. Good to see you.
Likewise, Jim. Nice to see you.
So we bumped into each other at Amazon Accelerate, and somehow you knew who I was, and I quickly was very impressed with your story. And I said, man, I got to get you on the podcast, dude. So you've sold more books than anyone I've ever met on Amazon. Fill me in on your e-commerce journey. Talk me through it.
It was a very quick elevator pitch in an elevator ride. So
it was literally an elevator. That's right.
It was. I'm always well prepared to drop of a hat, say hi, and believe it or not, be very, very succinct. Generally, not so much, but like when I have to be, I certainly can. So, and here we are. So
it lasted 45 seconds maybe, and we set this up, man. It's beautiful.
The randomness of the world led to all this. So hopefully it's as magical as I've dreamt since it's been a few months, but here we are. Yeah, I mean, I got started back in the early days of Amazon. I was one of the very first resellers on the marketplace. I think one of the first couple hundred sellers. I was selling stuff out of my college dorm room. So our first big sourcing opportunity came when our school wasn't buying the book back. But I would recognize that, say, schools in Iowa or whatever were a semester or two behind. So our bookstore was not giving anything for that book. And I'm like, hey, leave it in front of our door. We'll deal with it. I like to read about sociology. I like to read about history. Sure, give me the book. So little did I know that would become a future savings account for future beer. So we piled up the books, in front of our door, and we put them in our bedroom, our spare bedroom, in our closet, and we list them on Amazon. And by the good graciousness of our students, all the students, we list them on Amazon and put them in a laundry basket and ship them up and built a business. And it was so much fun, and wasn't pretty, but nice and scrappy, And then we were one of the very first FBA sellers. So I had gone to an event, it was called SCOE in Seattle, and had stumbled upon some different Amazon folks that were there. And they knew that I was one of the big category leaders of the book place, and they were pitching to, the FBA. They didn't even really have a name for it. Like, we want to recruit you, and we want to recruit other category leaders. So I'm like, sure, it's kind of interesting, whatever, but I got to see it to believe it. So they're like, well, next week, can you come to Reno? And I'm like, oh, okay. So drop of a hat, went out to Reno and saw their, it was like a 1 million square foot warehouse, one of their first that they were building. I remember half of it was done, and half of it they were still putting in the shelves and all this and that. And they were very strict on all the, closed-toed shoes and the hair tied back and all these things. And we were on the ground floor of that anyway. And it was just exciting to see, the power that Amazon's built and become in the last 15 or 20 years now since. So been a ride. So, and then, so I had my own company doing that. Like I said, I started focusing on how to expand, and we did a mobile retail bookstore called Pennyworth Books, and we became the leader in that world. And so I'd take books that were not good to monetize online, and we'd sell them at different street festivals, street fairs, places that had 50, 60, 100,000 people for the weekend. So not just like a, parking lot show. Like, these were big events that other people organized and other people, marketed and ran, and we just show up and grift off that. And it's a lot of books.
Interesting way to deal with your dead pile of inventory, in this case, books. What were you selling books for, like, price-wise?
So we had a couple different brands, and used books would go $5 for paperback, $7 for hardcover. Ultimately, and then the price would go down throughout the event because we'd have fire sales at the end, but that was our starting price. And then we had another brand that did brand new books. So those would be like remainder books and stuff. And we did different deals based on the market, what the market would bear, but generally like 2 for $20, sometimes 2 for $25, etc. and then prices would again go down. So
Fun. So did you enjoy those shows? That sounds like a lot of work, man. Unpacking a big busload of books and putting them on shelves and putting 80% of them back when you're done, making, a few $1,000, I imagine, like on a good show. Like
so my best show, we did over $100,000 in 2 days worth.
what?
We grossed over 100,000. It was
That's
$106,000.
crazy. I would never.
Netted 31. So, but I mean, it's still it's not a bad weekend's worth of work. So,
what show was that? Do you remember which one?
LA, out in LA Times Festival Books. So
LA Time. It was actually a book festival.
Yeah, 150,000 people, and yeah, we had 4 different 20 by 20.
How many books did you take with you? I mean, approximately
27,000 books and sold 25,000. So
what?
Yeah,
You sold 85, 90% of your inventory.
Yeah,
That's nuts, man. I never would have guessed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good to have conversations with other people in the industry, because I mean, I've been doing this 22 years, man. I didn't even know such a thing existed.
It was a lot of logistics. So we'd drive books out there, we'd ship books out there, and then we'd also pick up books from local suppliers. And ultimately, that is what led to, one of these days I was driving back from the event, and I'm like, how I source books for this event is my proprietary, thing. I built some software and I handed it out to local suppliers and had a whole bunch of different deals back and forth with that. And I won't bore the audience with all that, but I recognized that how I was doing it would be so much more valuable to Glenn from Sell Back Your Book. And I knew him through the industry. We grew up together in a sense, like we were competing, but friendly. So a lot of times we do deals together, but separate. So what I mean by that is if we were doing a Hollywood Video closeout or a Circuit City closeout, we'd pool our money together so we could buy the whole district, the whole area, and so we wouldn't just have
split
1 or 2 stores each. Yeah. So, and we shared a couple warehouses together and we had split lines and a lot of trust, and it was a great relationship. Anyway, I said to myself, I have this thing, and if I gave it to Glenn, I'm not just going to give it to him, by the way, but if I can get it to him and show him the magic of it, it would be 10 or 20 times more valuable with him, for him. As it was, he acquired my business. It turned out to be about 1,000 times more valuable because it spring leaped his business into having the whole B2B business. And so the bulk business of Sell Back Your Book was born. And that was in 2019. And in 2022, we were acquired by World of Books. So it's kind of, leapfrog. And here we are now wearing the World of Books hat. And we are the #1 book buyer, bookseller in Europe, in the UK, and striving to be #1 here in the United States. I'd say we're #2 right now, and we're coming for that #1 spot. So we're #1 in the world on eBay. So that's one little accolade, but we're not there #1 everywhere yet. So
wow. Okay, I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the listeners today, and I'm learning this as they are. Right. I knew that you'd sold a lot of books, more than anyone I'd ever met. That was kind of the elevator pitch conversation you and I had in passing, a few months ago. But the question list is growing faster than we're going to have time to get through.
We can do a part 2, Jim. I'm yours.
I really appreciate it. We can
keep them in suspense, and then more.
Stay tuned for part 2, right? Yeah, after these messages from our sponsors, right? No, I want to get into the reality of, from my perspective, books has been a decent place to start to get your feet wet and to step kind of safely into the reselling territory. And we've kind of always left it there. And I've known a few people who've done decent, but it all, in my mind, again, this is my perception, it all got a little iffy about 8, 9 years ago when storage fees started going up, maybe 7, 8 years ago. And people are like, oh man, don't send books to Amazon because the storage fees are going to kill you. And it kind of drifted to the back burner. And I haven't done a whole lot with it myself. We haven't really trained on it a whole lot, but I've got like our coaching director, he loves books. He talks about it constantly. And we talk about new sellers, good, safe way to get a few transactions under your belt, right? Talk to me the reality of what you're seeing, because I've got a 10% clarity in this arena. You've got like 99 point something percent clarity. Is there something viable for the small guy here still?
So the best part I love about books, and I think it was the big turn on for Mr. Bezos and everybody along the way.
Yeah, that's what Amazon started as, was books. Yeah.
Right. But I think the biggest turn on is, the supply is plentiful. Everybody has books in their house, some for show, some fake ones. These are like Halloween version. They pop out and kind of
Right,
do a
sure.
whole bunch of
I got
whatever.
real
Thanks,
books
Lowe's.
behind me.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. But we like everybody has books, right?
Mhm.
And for two, it's one of the things that has been around the longest, right? Like written word. Once they figured out how to transcribe thoughts and like save them and put them somewhere to pass down, it stuck.
Oh,
And
you don't have to convince me. I say the greatest invention in modern history is the printing press.
for sure,
Gutenberg
for
is one of
sure.
the greatest inventor heroes that's unrecognized by many people. But the internet takes a distant second place to the printing press in my book.
I very much agree. But because it's so plentiful and the cost to acquire it, sometimes you can even get paid to, you can be a service. You can run a service for a group and say, hey, get these books out of here and walk away with a check. Not as
Right.
much likely nowadays, but back in the early days, I mean, it was a viable thing people could do. But the point is books are everywhere and they're easy to, they're pretty universal in size and shape and able to store. And the catalog is there. So you can type a number, scan a barcode now, and
Boom, got it.
instantly get all the data, right? You can't do that with shirts or anything really at all.
Mhm.
Yes, UPCs, but like as for this type of product that's fairly, almost 99 again percent catalog, done, right? So that's like easy starting points. And then that cost to acquire plus the margin you can make. I mean, nowhere can you buy a book for like a quarter and maybe sell it for $100. You're not going to do that every time, but like you can, right? And
It
that's the
happens.
chase.
Yeah.
It does happen. So, and I mean, there's books that are like insanely profitable out there. It's just if you know your craft and you're more of an antiquarian seller, and you can do all sorts of stuff. So, books to me are very exciting, and I love them.
Hey, we'll get back to the great episode in just a moment. Sorry for the interruption, but I want to point something out. If you're enjoying this program, this podcast, could you do us a little favor? Could you spread the word? Send some friends to silentjimdotcom and say, hey, check out this podcast. Multiple streams of income, learn to sell on Amazon, great free content. Hey, help us spread the word. That's the way we market this show, is you sharing with others. That's why we have over 6 million downloads on iTunes alone. And speaking of iTunes, would you leave us a review? We love to see those iTunes reviews rolling in. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes as well. That really helps us out in the industry to get recognition and gain followers and subscribers. If you subscribe yourself, leave us a review. By the way, did you know that this show that you're listening to right now was voted as the #1 podcast for Amazon sellers by an independent survey in late 2024? That's right. The #1 show for Amazon sellers. We won. And you're a big part of why. So thank you for being a listener. You're the best part of this show. But hey, help us spread the word if you don't mind. That helps us continue to bring you quality content, attract high quality sponsors and other listeners who will pay attention to what we're doing here, because we want to teach you to use the internet creatively to launch and grow multiple streams of income. We need your help to spread the word. We want to help others do the same. All right. God bless you, business building warrior. Thanks for a couple moments of your time. Let's get back to the show.
Books to me are very exciting, and I love them.
Are you a reader, or are you just a seller of books?
I am a reader. Lately, I've been not so much a reader. Probably the last 6 months, I've just been pretty busy. But like, I have a stack, and I'm definitely going to get to it again. I mean, I used to
I
crank
do
out
Audible
a
books
couple
more
books a
often
month.
than not for me, but I have a deep appreciation for holding a book in my hand. I grew up reading, and I think it's a huge advantage. One of the things I say around here all the time, Bill, is tell me what content you're consuming and who you're hanging out with, and I will tell you your future, right? I mean, I didn't come up with that, but there's a lot of wisdom in that. The books you're reading tell a lot, what content someone consuming. So yeah, but not to derail too much. So it's still viable in your opinion, books, and I would say, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a viable model. The one big mistake, just to get this off the table, you're not doing much FBA, I would guess.
No, we don't do any FBA, but it is completely viable in a sense because the fees are very well. Right now they're a little murky because Amazon just changed things again. But like they're on an equal playing field. So a seller like myself, that if we wanted to do FBA, then we could dump 1 million books in there, like in the course of the next 90 days. Or the person that's starting this week, maybe we inspire a couple today that start next week and have 5 books to list. We're on equal playing fields, right? Yeah. And so the fees and the charges and the shipping and all that stuff are exactly the same, which is a nice leveler.
I've always said, you don't have to convince me of this, Bill. The customers, the shoppers pay all fees. 20 years ago, when eBay was the only game in town, and first time I remember eBay raising their fees, And a lot of people lost their minds, and I was tempted to join them. But I thought, wait a second, if the fee went up for all of us, we're just going to all raise our prices by a quarter and the customers are going to pay the fee. Like, what's the big deal, guys? It's not like they picked out a few of us to punish. It's across the board. So here's the way I break it down. As long as the shoppers are showing up and shopping, the fee changes are not a problem for sellers. The shoppers
Very
are
true.
paying for it, right? And clearly the shoppers are showing up and shopping. So you guys are doing merchant fulfilled. You're
Mhm.
shipping the books out of your own warehouses when they sell. You've got, I'm sure, a robust system for that, right? But I could turn my side closet over here into a warehouse of 300 books, and when they sell, right? There's no penalty for them not selling if I'm the one doing the storage, correct?
Correct. And I like books especially because it's very scalable and systematic, right? Once you have a process down and you know your touch costs and you know your storage costs and you know all the costs are on the way to from A to Z to get a book in and a book out,
Mm-hmm.
that's very scalable. And the jobs are not so demanding where like you can create an SOP and then hire yourself, a replacement and then keep doing that and farming and saying, okay, I have this down. And first, for one, you want to do it and know it and own it better than anyone else. And so you can understand, okay, I can get X amount of this done in this amount of time. And that's a job. I could pay someone to do it, right? This is like business 101. And
Of course.
it's a very simple business in the core. A lot
Getting
can
your
happen along the way.
inventory, securing your inventory, which in many cases, one of the things we teach people if they've got no money is just spread the word. Hey, you got anything you're trying to sell? I'll sell it for you. Let me sell it with you and let's split the proceeds. Books or something, people like, really? You'll come clear out my attic for free? Take all the
Right.
books? Yeah. I mean, like if you're ready to hustle, to me, books is a hustle business, especially if you're new, right? It's a hustle mode business that hopefully fuels you stepping into. This is how I've always positioned it. It fuels you being able to step into some of the other more easily automated models. But you're saying books can become that as well. And I don't
Yes.
know a lot of people who have done that. I know a lot of people who used to and stepped away. I know a lot of people who are still kind of using it on the side as the thing they do. But I was fascinated by your story, Bill, because like, you're doing it at scale. And the pieces I'm trying to fit in my mind right now are if I just want to do, say, a couple $1,000s a month in books and make it a profitable business, is that a viable thing still? And it sounded to me like you're saying, yeah, it is, because
For
you're on the
sure.
same playing field as you.
There's software solutions out there that will literally hold your hand and say, is this a good book? Is this a bad book? And tell you the expected profitability and the expected turn rate. So like all this stuff is dumbed down. Whereas when I started, there wasn't a software solution. You had to have a gut feeling. You had to have like this muscle memory and this, it kind of fits this criteria. And that was the beauty of it, by the way. That's the art of it, right? But like now it's so systematic where you can, from a 5-year-old to a 95-year-old, as long as they can hit a button and see or hear a screen, they can then follow that prompt. And it's kind of like you are standing over the shoulder of all your employees at the same time because you have implemented your rules and buying decisions into the software. And then you just go. And then it's just a supply game, doing it at a profitable, march every single time.
Scan enough books and you're going to find enough winners and you're going to list them for sale and then wait for them to sell. And a lot of the basic skills that we ingrain in our student base around here is inventory decision making. So really from that aspect, it's just another product. To me, that's what a book is. It's just another product, but they tend to sell a little slower. So you don't want to do FBA. That's kind of the way that I've always treat it. Now, if you get a fast selling book, it's just another product in my mind. If I can sell
Yep.
5 to 10 copies a month, I'm in. Yeah. But if I've got one of something, I've been more resistant to play that game of like, all right, find one, paid 50 cents. Hopefully it sells for $20 someday. That's just less predictable unless you get to scale. That's kind of where I'm at with books. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong. Neither one of us are trying to convince the other of anything here. I want to provide value to the listeners, right? But I'm slowly tilting in your direction that I think we need to pay a little more attention to books as an opportunity.
Come over, come on, come back, come over more. Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity because, like I said, ultimately there's an abundance of supply, makes it easy. There's enough profit margin built in, and eventually, book is going to be wanted. If it has value, it should hold its value at least somewhat. Like stuff's always going to go one way online, down. But on the other hand, that book is going to be coveted eventually. Pop culture helps that. People die, people become relevant again. Whatever triggers somebody to be aware of that book. Chefs are on TV all the time in the morning shows that I don't watch because I'm very, very hard at work. Same with the afternoon shows and evening shows. I'm so hard and not watching at work and not watching any of this television. But I hear from other people that they're on, and same with the radio and internet shows
Right.
like this and what have you. And again, it just spurs interest, right? And it takes one person to click and say, I want to read more about Chef whoever, and they buy the book. And that's one example of 1,000 I could give you. So
yeah. Well, are there any general rules of thumb? And I know this is going to be maybe a hard question. It's a simple question to ask, maybe virtually impossible to answer, but maybe you've got some good answers. I know how I answer it, but I'm nowhere near as informed as you are. So let me give you the question and my answer. You expand on it. Okay. So sometimes hey, I'm looking at books, what should I be looking for? What I say is, if it's one that you look at and you say to yourself, who in their right mind would ever be interested in this? It's probably a winner. That's about the only rule of thumb I go on, because if it's some best-selling author from last year and there's 8 million copies in print, it's going to be a while before that thing's a gem, right? That's just my impression. Talk me through, unbreak my answer there and challenge me a little bit. What do you say to those kind of questions?
So if you're a rare book hunter or going for the high margin, low volume game, sure, your idea and your strategy wins probably more than not at scale.
Okay.
On the other hand, because I'm a volume person and I've processed between our companies, gosh, I would
Millions.
easily, I'd say a billion books between everything in the course of time.
You've got a bigger sample size than I do for sure.
Sure, but the point is we scan everything, right? We touch everything because we don't know, and up here only knows so much. Back in the day, before this technology existed, I would bring a budget truck and I'd bring a crew of my hooligan friends and promise them dinner or drinks or both afterwards, whatever. But I'd give them criteria and say, "It looks like this. Pick it up. If it's this price and it looks like this, I want it, and we'll deal with it." So, but again, that was when competition was low. Amazon prices were high. We could make more. We could make actually money with the shipping, what Amazon would pay between versus the cost of the shipping. So totally different world. But the point is I didn't need to know. We would touch and scan everything and let the technology do its trick and let the technology decide. So ultimately, I think when you're doing a numbers game, you just want to scan everything and touch everything and just be focus yourself on getting as efficient as you can, touching every book and scanning every book. And that's probably the best approach. But
and then having a good way to store and retrieve as they sell, right? That's something, if you're going to do it at scale. It's just, they take up a lot of space, to do it at scale. So talk me through the reality. Let's say I've got a side closet here. I'm going to fill it up with 1,000 books. If I do it the right way, use the right software, what is that? Money-wise, business-wise, is that?
It depends on your criteria. Again, if you're going with the super rare books, you might only sell 5 to 10 a month, but each book could be an $80 book or $50 book. And okay, great. And that's worth your time to go every time one sells to the post office or stick it in the mailbox because you have the postage, the software that they can pick it up and magic happens. On the other hand, if you're doing a good rule of thumb is you should want to turn your books about 30% in the first 30 days. So 1% a day, 2% a day, or in that range, 1 to 2% a day. So you'd be wanting to sell, on 1,000 books, you'd be wanting to sell 10 a day. So, and if you're making $5 to $10 a transaction, well, now you have something. Now you have a viable side hustle. So
So you don't want stuff, because the turn of inventory is always a big deal. When we're teaching people, I want to see you turning your money over. With the strategies we teach, it's not unrealistic at all to turn your money over 6 to 8 times in a year, right? Because we're looking for underserved, fast moving. If it's not selling within 30, 60 days, man, you shouldn't have bought it. You can do the same kind of thing with books, I imagine, with the technology. How hot of a title is this? How narrow of a parameter do I want to put on this? That's some of the learning curve you've got to pick up, I guess, with the tools and technology. Are there any tools that you would suggest that the average book user could jump out and grab and start using and be dangerous with, or is there some training required? Talk me through that a little bit.
Scouting software, I think, is fundamental to anybody that's going to touch a book. So scouting software is apps on your phone that you would get an account, and you can either get a live lookup or a database price of the Amazon profit margin, both for merchant fulfilled and for the FBA price. Both, luckily, we're integrated with both the two main players right now, and there's a couple up and comers, but they're not either. They're still testing or not fully there yet. But the two main ones in no particular order, are Scout Lee and Scout IQ. So, like I said, there are a few others that are there, but with those two, we're fully integrated. So as you scan, the magic of how we operate is as you scan for yourself and for checking the Amazon price on merchant side or on the FBA side, there's a third option that comes up with the World of Books price. And so if it doesn't meet your criteria, say you pick up the book and you can make $5 on it, but as you start to examine it, it's really a little, the condition doesn't meet your criteria. It kind of makes you have a bad feeling in your stomach that I'm going to buy it and do all this work. And then a month later, my feedback might get hit because it's going to be returned. And I don't want to have the customer have a bad experience. Hey, we'll take that book. So now all of a sudden you can flip it right to us and you've hedged your bet. So that you have like $5 in the bank for your quarter. You've turned a quarter, 20 times up to $5. And now maybe the rest of your books you bought are $5. So essentially you bought all your supply for that quarter flipped to us. And that's how we add value.
And you can ship it in bulk, box at a time to you guys.
Yes, and we pay for the freight as well. We pay for the shipping if it's in box or if it's via pallet. We ship. We have a freight and logistics team that picks it up, and again, there's no cost to that. So if you ship one book or thousands of books to us, the books that we want, shipping's on us. So we make it easy. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, we've got a mini course that someone put together in our community a while back. Another leader who their mom is doing several $100s a week, and it's a little side hustle churn for her. And she's doing what you just described, but she's probably selling to you guys. We put together a little mini course that talks you through how to do that. Business model of just scanning books, making good decisions. If you can't sell it on Amazon, I think she even said, you know what, I'm not even going to sell it on Amazon. If World of Books doesn't want it, I don't want it either. And so she's just scanning just for boxes she can send to you.
That'd be great. We need more people like her.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you guys are actively looking for more people to sell books to you.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah, we have a warehouse capacity of 9 million books. Right now we have just over 7 on a 230,000 square foot facility. And that's just in the United States. In the UK, we have more than that. So, yeah.
Well, you've come to the right community because
Good.
People here are used to making inventory decisions, and they're used to having conversations and hunting down and having like, hey, I noticed you got a bunch of books back here. Could I make you an offer and just take them off your hand?
Mm-hmm.
Like we got people who do that all day, every day. Many of us started in the eBay days like you, and we've transitioned to come into the Amazon game. So I think there's definitely some connections here. We talked before we hit record. I think it's even more interesting now. We need to have you at our event in May. Come on down and talk to us about this, dive into a session and tell us how we can kind of plug in. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. We already checked the dates and you said, let's go.
And see, I'm really real. Nobody would want to have an AI version of this. Like, oh,
no. No, absolutely no. It's in-person, real conversations. I think you're going to love our community, man. You're our kind of people. You're doing it. You're not afraid to get your hands dirty. You've been selling for a while, and outstanding. What else you want to keep go anywhere you want, man? What's on your mind?
I mean, that is the thing. I think any business owner needs to be able to know and do any aspect of the business. It's like when I walk through the warehouse, I'll lean down and pick up a piece of the pallet that's on the floor, the garbage, whatever. A, it's the example, but B, like nothing's beneath me. I could go out there and pick the books and ship the books and list the books and shelve the books. And we do that much like I believe DoorDash is the same type of ideas with their office employees and their full-time staff, because that way everybody's actively involved in the business, engaged in the business, and the different perspective of saying, hey, try this, or did you ever think about that? Or now I see why this doesn't work, and that you have more minds and eyes on the sense to solve a problem and work collaboratively together.
That 80s concept, late 80s, early 90s of management by walking around, right? Remember that? You're in the business, you're doing it, right? Everyone knows you know them. It's not like you become too good for any aspect of it. I know the Japanese culture has really adapted that. If you go into hotel management there, your first year, you're cleaning toilets and making beds. Doesn't matter what grades you got at what school. you start in the basement and you get the job done, right? As you learn the gig. So and as e-commerce warriors, the benefit is the flexibility, the schedule. You can travel and you can work when you feel like it. You got to work a little every day. You got to show up, but the flexibility is there. But the downside is, something breaks, it's your business, man. You got to fix it. You got to be on hand. You got to know what the answers are to the questions that your people are asking. But this is a simple enough business model, as are most of the e-commerce models we teach. But I love it for the low risk, You can wade in nice and slow, get your hand on a few tools that help you make good decisions. And it can be another income stream for just about anyone, it sounds like.
For sure. But like anything, you have to put in that time and that effort. And, it is an everyday situation where it's not one of these autopilot,
Yeah.
where you're
Well, if
going to
something
buy these
ships,
books.
something sells, you got to ship it.
Yes, well, right. But you can't just list those 1,000 books at the beginning of next month and then expect, hey, they're all going to sell by the end of next month and magic's going to happen without any, you have to maintain it and constantly, feed it and give to it. And you need the activity, but you must have the accomplishment. Or if you have no accomplishment, you're not going to go anywhere with the business. And it's fostering that business and constantly, putting the water on to grow that business. And it takes a lot. Everybody thinks it's easy. And like looking back in the last, 26 years, can you believe I started at the age of 2? Okay.
Wow. Ambitious.
I try, but I'm going to use that one in person too. It's going to crush the crowd. It's going to kill. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, they're going to
but looking back, like it looks easy, but like I can tell you many times where I was, a month away or a week away or a quarter away from saying, forget it. I'm going to find something else or do something else with my life or pivot. But like there's a lot of opportunity, and be it books, be it anything. I would say as entrepreneurs, you want to explore everything you can and help find your niche and hone, where you feel comfortable. But ultimately, books are another widget. So like get in there, see what you could do, harness that opportunity. And maybe it's a nice little silo of your business and kind of one of those things where you don't have to do too much work. Like it's not the core of your business, but you still have to maintain it, but it'll help supplement all your other stuff. And like learning books, I believe is fundamental to the world of e-commerce as a whole, because there are so many strategies that work with books that work everywhere. And the cost of entry in the book world is so minimal that why not start there? Why not get your feet wet? If you're thinking of doing anything e-commerce wise or self-starter on Amazon, like before you dump 5 or 10 grand into private label stuff or this or that or whatever, like books is where it's at. You can get some fundamentals in first. So
you're hitting the nail more on the head than you may realize with our community. I've got the longest running e-commerce coaching company in the world, as far as I know. We've been doing it over 20 years, same coaching leader. And one of the things we
start at the age of 4, though, a little older.
Exactly. No, I'm in my mid 50s. I'm not afraid to let the world know, man. I've been doing this a while. I'm an old man into e-commerce, and you're right up there with me, man. I know you've been doing this a while, dude. But
so many grays. I don't know.
Yeah, I got a little more gray than you do for sure. For sure, no doubt. I got a few years.
I swear.
But one of the things we committed to early on was, and this goes back to my philosophy of how the internet changed business. Business has always been the same. The rules have always been the same. They always will be the same. You got to make a profit while making your customer happy with the transaction, right? You're selling stuff. You can just do it at scale. But the way the internet changed things was you can test small ideas frequently and fail, and it doesn't cost you much, which means you're crazy if you're taking big risks. Stop taking big risks. No big risks necessary. So when you say, yeah, I'm going to launch my own private label on Amazon, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a course. Like you're doing business the old way. You're pretending the internet doesn't exist with its possibilities of taking tiny risks and wading in and then scaling what works. That's how the internet changed business. It took a lot of that risk out of, it's not a necessary part of the process. So when you say, no, low cost of entry, try it out. Why not experiment around? I mean, it's not going to, turn into a massive profit stream for you, but it's another little silo, which is terminology we use around here all the time. It's another stream, right? We talk about multiple streams and it could turn into something. But while you're having conversations with people about, I tell people all the time, you've got to identify, you got to have an identity. When people say, hey, what do you do, man? What do you do? Like when I had that conversation with you at Accelerate, you were on it. I train people in our community and see if this resonates. You say, I'm the guy that knows how to sell stuff online, right? That's what I do. I understand e-commerce. I'm in that world. What do you got? Let me help you sell it. Kind of conversations, right? Books is just another product. Why not? Right? And if it's as simple as sending them to you guys, there you go, man. Send them off. So
help mitigate that risk, worldofbooks.com.
Worldofbooks.com?
Yes.
It's pretty self-explanatory if you go there, how to send you books and...
Yeah, there's a little sell button right third or fourth, little graphic over, and that's our sell site. The World of Books main site is a marketplace that we have that is our direct to consumer side. So if you're interested in books, some better deals than eBay or Amazon, and not trying to sell anybody here any books, but you asked. So that's
Absolutely,
if you want to buy some books, you can go there. You want to sell us books, you go there too.
Hey, we'll get back to the show in just a moment. I've got an important announcement. You'll want to take note of this. silentjim.com/the system. Go check it out if you haven't yet. One of my favorite interviews ever with Kang. We talk about a tool that he's developed that helps him completely automate his multiple seven-figure reselling business on Amazon. If you've got spreadsheets and a collection of multiple random tools working together and against each other, trying to run your Amazon business, it's time to move to a smoother system. If you're new and you're wanting to do things the right way, start off with a smooth running workflow system that manages every aspect of your Amazon reselling business. And it's going to include Walmart soon as well at no additional cost. You want to get over and check it out. The prices will go up on the system soon. Early in 2025, we're going to start aggressively promoting this tool outside of our community. Right now, you can pay about 1/5 of what others will be paying for this tool. It's been beta tested by 200 sellers in our community. They've given it raving feedback. It will help automate and eliminate all the excess work and the conflicting processes that might be going on in your business right now. Check this out. Kang has a tiny team, the smallest we've ever seen for someone running a multiple seven-figure business. He doesn't have to do anything except check his stats and give his team of about 3 people access to this incredible software. You need to check it out. silentjim.com/the system. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out after this episode. We'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. Let's get back to the show.
Not trying to sell anybody here any books, but you asked. So that's if you want to buy some books, you can go there. You want to sell us books, you go there too.
I want to give you guys some good exposure. Yeah. And this is, I don't see me flipping over to becoming a book guy and going all in on books, but I know it a little better than I did before we started talking. And I think if someone's looking for a few extra $100 a month just to get the confidence that there's something here, this is a pretty low risk way to do it. That can start to open up the other opportunities that, multiple seven-figure, we've got some incredible, crazy success stories of people who've built fully automated machines and some of the strategies we teach. But if you're at the point where you can't scrape together $500 and you need something that kind of works, this is a pretty low-hanging fruit thing to play with. Where you're not going to get
Both the apps I mentioned have at least 2-week free subscription. And if you contact either of those places and say, hey, I heard from Bill, maybe they give you a free month. I don't know. I'm not saying, but I can always help. I don't get anything for putting my neck out there on both those names because they're the best two in the industry. So that's cool.
You said Scout IQ and
Scout Lead. So Scout Lead.
Scout Lead and
Scout Lead. Scout and then LY.
Scout Lead. LY. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And Scout IQ was the other one?
Yep. Yeah. Both apps are in Apple and Android stores, whatever. But yeah, books are at every Goodwill, every thrift store. Libraries have them. They have Friends of the Library sales, sometimes monthly or quarterly. There's a big one in Phoenix coming up next month that people will fly across the country to go and camp out there for the day beforehand. That's a big deal one. These places you can just stumble into and make a couple bucks just by being active and making a change in your life, actively committing to do this. Books are, like I said, everywhere. Your friends have them, schools have them. Books are a burden for many of these places. And there's rummage sales, there's estate sales. I could go on and on and on, but that's going to be in part 2.
Yeah. We'll have to or you got to come to the conference. Let's do that. Come to the conference in May and hang out with Bill. He's going to be there with us. He's committed on air before we hit record and on air too. You heard him. I've got you on air, buddy. I got the recording now. Yeah, it'll be great.
You said you weren't recording that. That was our talk. That was you and me. Feel so violated. That's
but you really will love this community, though. I think cool. I can't wait to show it off to you a little bit. It's a pretty incredible group and very creative and motivated, and can't wait to to get you down there. I think you'll get hooked, man. It's your kind of people for sure.
Yeah, no,
But
I'm really excited. It's a shame it's May, but on the other hand, that's only 4 months away, so the countdown clock is on, and
yeah, you're
super
putting the
excited.
pressure
And
on, man.
gosh, another trip to Orlando. My wife is going to be so excited, and might have to come with us because we're a big Disney family, and she's
Oh,
a
we're right by
Disney
SeaWorld
travel
too.
planner. What's that?
It's the DoubleTree Resort right by SeaWorld is that's where we
Oh,
were
perfect.
last year, where we are again this year.
Okay.
You can walk across the street to SeaWorld. Yeah, easy driving distance to everything, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, to be a great time, man. Well, I got one little logistics question for you. When
Sure
books
thing.
pop up, sometimes people say, "Oh, should I sell this as new or used?" If they're selling on Amazon, I'm like, nah, it's always used, right? Like, is that good
Yes.
advice?
1,000%. So back when I started, there were lots of gray areas that may or may not have been exploited. I think the statute of limitation has long exceeded, so I can talk about it now. But did we use some gray areas that were available to us because it was Wild West? Guilty as charged, but like certainly all ethical ones and above board ones. But like when these things are there, you can choose to exploit them or use them to your benefit to a point, right? Like when the lottery machine you put $1 and it shoots out two, like if you didn't, you fold it and you put it and you walk in your pocket and you walk away, like that's an honest mistake. But like if you keep hitting that button, you keep hitting 500, well then you're a criminal, right? So we don't
Yep.
want to be logical with our actions here. So like bring it back. Books new, no good. Do not do that. Like books from a publisher with direct from a publisher like Ingram or any of those, like you need to have the invoices and the authorization to resell those. You are then an authorized seller. You are fine. If you buy a book, I don't care if you bought it at Target and you changed your mind and it's technically new because it's unread and you don't want to bring it back to Target, you want to sell it on Amazon, that is not new. The moment it leaves the store, it is not new. This is what remainder houses are for. You take that book back to Target, they can't put it on their shelf. They understand it's new because it's not, they can see it. They cannot legally put that book back on their shelf. They have to send it back to the publisher, who then sends it to a remainder house, who then people like me back when I did my day would buy that book for $1.50, and sell it for 3 for 20, 2 for 20. And this is the cycle of books. So there's a built-in machine that works, and trying to flip new books on Amazon unless it's direct from a publisher is not the way to go. It's a fast lane to get your account booted from Amazon, and like you're in a world of hurt because you only get so many of those slaps on the wrist before they just say, "Listen, we don't need you." And this comes from the heart because we're a big seller. I think we're the number 7 seller on Amazon, and we even have issues. It's not like we're a rounding error to Amazon's business. Like if we have issues, it's not like we can call somebody and get right back on. Like we have to go through the steps that everybody has to do. So again, this brings back to a level playing field. We are on the same level playing field in that sense. So crazily enough, I don't like that part of it, but it is what it is.
The World of Books is not just the 7th largest bookseller. You're the 7th largest reseller. So
on Amazon, yeah.
That's amazing.
Based on feedback. So you could have a seller that sells a yacht, like a giant ship, whatever, for
sure, and they've sold more
million.
than you did in 3 years.
Sure, so gross, they're gonna
totally. It's just total transactions, man. That's impressive. That is very impressive. To hear you state it in those terms, which I kind of knew as well. Like they don't show a lot of favoritism. It's like, oh yeah, you've been around a while. Yeah, you can break some rules. No, they've created a pretty level playing field to their credit, right? Which if I'm new, I want to hear that, right? If I'm a new smaller seller.
Yeah, we definitely understand. But like I said, we're number 1 in the world on eBay. Other marketplaces that don't necessarily measure it, I believe we're number 1 in the book world, on them. So it's a nice spot to be. But yeah, it's the same no matter what. It's not, again, same with eBay and the others. Like they're all, for the very most part, equal playing fields, and it's amazing to see that they were able to scale so vastly and still have that non-favoritism achieved. So
yeah, again, to their credit, man, I think Amazon's doing a lot of things the right way. You hear a lot of complaining and moaning and groaning, but they've created more millionaires than any company in world history, so they're doing something right. If I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to pay attention to that, right?
And then you think of all the spillover ecospheres that exist that aren't even on Amazon that are millionaire people. All the ancillary businesses. There's just
the tools,
way too many even.
I got to imagine it would have been a good time to buy stock in whoever makes boxes about the time Amazon started doing FBA, right?
Jim, if I would have done nothing, then taken the money I invested when I started my little pony show operation and not done days and days and weeks and months of driving and hustling and all that, years of sweating and agony and sadness like came up in the world and just put it on Amazon, we would be doing this
Just
from my yacht that's
buy
next to
Amazon
Bezos's
stock.
in
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
yeah. That's all
exactly.
I had to
Yeah.
do.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Here.
it's okay.
No,
And I knew it would be big. I didn't know it would be this big, but what are you going to do? Missed
sounds like
opportunities.
that's how I feel about Bitcoin, but we're not going to go there. So
That's a whole other, yeah. Maybe if you parlay the Amazon into the Bitcoin and had like the double foresight, you'd be then
yeah.
then you're with the big boys of Buffett and Bezos and
Yeah, we'll be
Elon.
hanging
But
out with them on their yachts too, right?
yeah, they're
Wow.
looking up to us. But what are you going to do?
Exactly. But we're in the right arena, man. That's the thing. We are in the right arena at the right time. I say all the time,
For
Bill,
sure.
that we live in the right time. If you had to pick any time in human history, say, I want to be there. If you say, I want to build a business, I'm going to have the best odds of building a beautiful business, and I'm going to take a bunch of big risks and potentially lose it all doing it. Now's the time to be alive. No question. And the opportunities are everywhere.
Fully, that's spot on, because like with the advent of technology and the ability to scale so quickly and reach massive audiences anywhere in the world and target them, right? You can start small, but your ceiling is virtually unlimited. You can, yeah. And like you couldn't do this even 30 years ago. Like this is not in a sliver of time. This is it's like they say when the space shuttle has to re-enter, like you have this like micro window to like or you're skipping off the surface of the earth.
Right.
Like we are in this micro window of that where it's like, and we're here. What a time to be alive. So it's super exciting. Agree. Harness every opportunity you can. Keep business fundamentals small. Learn how to scale, and then depending on your risk tolerance, right? You want to grow at something that behooves you. You don't want to be, hey, I sold 2 books yesterday. I'm selling the house tomorrow, and we're going all in. No. Like at your pace, at a reasonable pace, and do it. But like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room or the world, and far from it. But like with hard work, dedication, and like laser focus most of the time, you can really grow a business to be something grand or something that supplements you. And that's again the beauty of this is like not everybody wants. I was told this very, very early on. Not everybody has to have the biggest, baddest business. If you want to have something that's a lifestyle business, you can create that. If you want to have something that you can earn a living on and create a job just for you, you can do that. If you want to create a lot of jobs, you can do that. If you want to do something that somebody's going to buy in a few years, you can do that. Like you can do all these levels of business. You can do it. It just depends what you want to do and what suits you. And like, again, what a beautiful time to be alive, and all this opportunity we have. Just the key is start. So many people say and plan and want and dream. Do get out there and do it. And then fall flat on your face. So what? Do it again. Like I think more about the 2,000 books I brought to LA that didn't sell than the 25,000, 27,000 books that did sell. It's like, why did those not sell? So.
You're a trainer.
But those are failures, right? Those I failed on those books is the point. So like, but how can I improve and get to whittle that down? So and that's what drives me. So
it surprises me that you don't do more training and teaching, and I can't wait to get you in front of a group full of maybe probably a breakout session at the event. You have a lot of people wanting to talk to you, and I can't wait to get you more plugged into our community. I think you've got some training and teaching ahead of you, because you said you don't do a whole lot of that, but you're very motivational.
I do nothing.
And
thank you. I try, but
you
maybe
speak from the heart.
Maybe this is the birth. Maybe we're watching the birth of something beautiful here.
Yeah, I believe so, man. Part of what I love doing, part of what I've really enjoyed about my 2 decades of this journey into e-commerce is pushing leaders who don't realize they're leaders into leadership roles. And it benefits everyone when we can do that. So we've got an incredible community here, and we're going to get you in front of some people, get you talking more about books, and who knows where that's all going to go. But I have another appointment at the top of the hour. I got to wind this down, Bill, but
it's fine.
Man, it was a pleasure hanging out with you today. Thank you, sir.
Likewise.
Absolutely. And for the listeners who hung out with us today, let me talk to the listeners for just a second. I'm sorry to cut this one off maybe sooner than you were hoping, but good news. Come to the conference in May. Come hang out with Bill. He's going to be there along with 40 breakout sessions. The Proven Conference is the website, theprovenconference.com. Can't wait to be there with you. And we had about 800 people last year, Bill. I think we're going to hit about that again this year, and just have a good time. All right, man?
Well, now after this, if we don't hit 1,000, then I'm not doing my job.
Well, Bill's going to be there, so it should be a lot more people this year.
Right?
Spread the word.
I got a whole bunch of people that follow me around. No, please don't. But
your entourage,
Thank
right?
you for the opportunity. I roll solo, but thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to meeting anyone I possibly can, and hope this was a little inspiring. Like I said, just go out there and start. What's the worst that can happen? You do it again tomorrow, and just I wish everybody luck, and I'm happy to be reachable. Be reached. My contact information is always out there. Jim, you can add it if you want to on here.
I'll stick it in the show notes for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Don't be a stranger to anyone. I'm happy to help.
Worldofbooks.com. Bill Martlink. Great hanging out with you, my friend.
Likewise. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Talk again soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.